Hey everyone, my name is Neil Karski and I'm the CEO of Patient Engine, a seven-figure digital marketing, lead conversion, and coaching agency for high-ticket aesthetics providers. And I would like to personally welcome you to the Aesthetics Millionaires show, where we sit down with industry entrepreneurs to talk about their personal journeys and discuss proven growth strategies. My genuine hope is that through this podcast, we can create more success stories in this industry and help more business owners scale past their competition. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome Dr. Amyas Kabir at Kabir Center for Health in Bloomington, Illinois. Dr. Kabir is a client of mine. He's a sales coach. He's a serious entrepreneur, and I'm excited to have him on the show. Thank you for driving up in your new whip.
It was fun.
How's everything going? How is we're 17 days into January. Are we meeting our 2025 goals so far, or what?
We're slightly behind pace, but my team should be listening to this right now, so they should be kicking some butt while I'm here talking to you.
That's right.
But yeah, no, we're on good pace. I had a record year last year, in big part thanks to Patient Engine, and some of the ads we've been running. So yeah, we had a great year, Neil, and I'm always looking for the next rung on the ladder. So it's like, okay, what's next, and what's the next target?
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a chiropractor by education, right? And I believe that was the first venture you had started. So walk us through a little bit of your journey in entrepreneurship and healthcare, and then now aesthetics.
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, I was fitness was my first love. So I owned and operated some gyms with a friend of mine. I wanted to do something a little more.
Very profitable business.
It was an awesome business. I had fun.
Was it profitable though?
Oh, yes, it was.
That's awesome.
We had multiple gyms. I did some personal training. I'm still best friends with the guy that I started the operations with. And he now does fitness equipment. I got into chiropractic and I went to school. I'm going to age myself here. 1992 is when I started, graduated in 95.
Which chiropractic university?
Went to Logan, which is in St. Louis. I grew up in St. Louis. Family's still there. And so, yeah, graduated in 95. Wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do. I started with a practice in St. Louis. Wasn't really congruent, didn't jive with the owner. Had an opportunity to go up to Bloomington in 98. And so went up to 98 and went up to Bloomington and started practice there. In chiropractic school, they don't give you much training in business. So you're just stumbling and reinventing the wheel. And so initially, it was just all chiropractic. Then I moved into multidisciplinary. So I started working with PTs and physical therapy assistants, and we started doing a lot of rehab. And so we were heavy into the insurance billing game. Well, I got quickly tired of being an administrator, and just for a while, I was just doing nothing but running, trying to figure out how do we get reimbursed? What's the codes? And I was doing a lot of work with insurance companies. Didn't really like it. So I went full cash. I just transitioned all out of insurance, went full cash practice right around 2009, 2010. And then at about 2018, 19 is when I moved in a little bit more into anti-aging type of therapies. And then about 3.5 years ago, really delved into body sculpting and aesthetics.
Let's talk about cash, because a lot of healthcare and medical providers, I think, start aesthetics too, or add aesthetics because they want cash-based services, and they don't want to have to rely on wait times and medical billing and all that stuff. So, but you, without having to add anything, you just decided to take your existing business and go cash. So tell us about that process. Tell us about what type of messaging you put out there to your patient base, and how that transitioned your business from within, around like how you were selling, etc. Because it's a different sell, right? It's when they have insurance, it's like, well, technically it's like free money and I have to go out of pocket. I'm paying for already, to cash, where it's like, all right, I need to be able to justify this out of my discretionary income.
Yeah, it was scary. But I think it was October, I started just informing my patients, hey, I'm going to go all cash starting in January, not going to be billing insurance. I'm going to be offering you some level of cash pay discount. You can still submit your bills to the insurance company for reimbursement. Because I think a lot of practitioners don't realize you can give, at least in the chiropractic world and some of the medical arenas, you can actually give your patients a super bill, and then they can actually submit it for reimbursement. So I just told my patients, hey, I'll give you some bills, you can reimburse. And I started in January, and at that time, I only had about a 7 or 8% attrition, so did really well. Formulated some cash plans. And then I actually trained with some good friends of mine on how to present cash plans to patients. But one thing about operating a cash practice is you got to be really good at creating value, right? Because in the insurance game, you already mentioned, I just have a $10 copay, I have a $20 copay. And so that's anything more than that. And patients think, I don't want to pay more than that. So when you're going all cash, you got to be really good at creating a high level of value for the services that you're offering.
Awesome. So were you providing financing at that point?
No, I did not have financing.
And then were you selling the treatment plans up front, or were you selling some sort of a subscription model or pay as you go?
I had, so they had options for payments, but it wasn't through a finance company. They just paid my office directly. We did auto debits. We weren't doing any monthly subscriptions at that point because it was mainly chiropractic and a little bit of physical therapy. I hadn't yet integrated aesthetics into it. When I did integrate aesthetics, then I started, I signed on with Care Credit. And so right now we still offer Care Credit to, our patients, whether they're doing chiropractic or aesthetic.
And when did you get into aesthetics?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Tell us about that process. Tell us about, I know I got into aesthetics about 4 to 5 years ago, and I saw a big rise in demand. I saw the industry transform. I think my big thing was body sculpting, non-invasive body sculpting, because I think I just saw a rise in people's desire for convenience.
Yeah.
As more technology is created, it serves to solve specific pain points in a convenient way, faster, cheaper, whatever it is, right? Less invasive, etc. So, and I was right, and it was right after the lockdowns happened, or during the lockdowns happened, that this industry just really accelerated a lot in growth, and I saw a lot of providers pop up, and then now we have 125,000 med spas, and which is crazy, right?
Yeah, I think chiropractic is growing, is a growing industry, but I think aesthetics is probably twice that of chiropractic. But with people that present to chiropractic offices, I found many of them, they come to you because back pain, neck pain, headaches, it's interfering with some aspect of their lifestyle that's important to them. They want to golf, they can't pick up their kids, they don't feel good about themselves. Well, aesthetics just blends really in, for chiropractic practices. So I'm working with a lot of chiropractic practices and incentivizing them and encouraging them to incorporate aesthetics, because it's a really easy blend. It's very congruent with what most chiropractors offer, which is, opportunities to live more youthful, live with more vitality, increase, pain-free, and increase the gap between chronological age and biological age.
So, tell us about the initial stages of integrating aesthetics in your chiropractic practice, and what you learned and took away from, patient experience, selling consultations, and bringing that into the aesthetics. Because I do believe that those types of treatments, you sell them a little bit differently, but there are certain fundamentals that are cross the lines as well.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had a really good consultation process just that I've, from doing years and years, been in practice 28 years now, and just being able to impart value with respect to chiropractic, I just apply those same principles to aesthetics. Now, when I started, it was funny how it started was one of the reps for one of the companies came in with a big box of cookies. So, I was with patients, rep comes in, big box of crumble cookies, and my staff's eating cookies. I'm like, where'd you guys get the cookies? I'm like, oh, there's a rep in the back. And rep had one of my staff members on the Sculpt Neo. And so on the abdomen. So he was telling me a little bit about it. And, for me, Neil, it just has to make sense to me in terms of, is this something that's going to help my patients? And if so, is this something that I can sell to my patients with a certainty that there's going to be a good profit margin? Meaning, can I make good revenue? Is it sellable? Is it going to help my patients? And can I sell it? And all those answers came back yes. So it literally took me 3 days. I made the decision, and that's how I picked up my first machine.
Very cool. Very cool. I know you do body sculpting, facial aesthetics. Any other plans to add anything else in the future that you think can help your clients or your patients get better results or solve more of their pain points while helping you profit?
Yeah. So right now, obviously, we do face, we do body and pelvic floor. And then we have a red light therapy pod that, we use for just a gamut of illnesses: autoimmune, inflammation, sleep, skin, weight loss. My wife's a critical element, critical part of the practice. So she guides people in the world of nutrition. We do something called nutrition response testing, which just helps to identify toxins, metals, food intolerances. It's a really cool system that both of us were trained on, probably 15 years ago. And so we implement that in practice today, because one thing that has occurred really post-COVID is we're seeing a lot more people with autoimmune problems, with things like Epstein-Barr virus, shingles. Obviously, most people are well aware of the growing problems with post-COVID vaccines, with cardiomyopathy and heart problems. So we really try and utilize an integrated approach with everybody. And so that way, when patients come in, I like to know that there isn't anything that a patient is going to present with that we don't have some level of a solution for.
Very cool. Very cool. You're one of our coaches. You place a massive emphasis on sales. I always talk about sales, which is huge. Mindset, pricing strategy, consultation, initial visit, design and process, objection handling and selling. What kind of, let's talk about that a little bit, because I think it's important. And I feel like in every podcast episode, I have to emphasize this, because I cannot stress of how important this is, and how important it is to being able to not exert judgment on any new potential patient that comes into your practice, and understanding that they can be a very valuable asset to your business, and obviously an opportunity for you to help them solve their pain points. And from a marketing perspective, if you're spending thousands of dollars like we both are in our practices, it's important to be able to have a good conversion rate. So
absolutely,
let's chat about that a little bit. I know that a lot of people struggle here, right? I think the biggest thing is getting in front of patients, whereas where advertising comes in. 2 is getting those patients to come in, which is the lead conversion piece. And 3 is converting this new client into a long-term patient.
Mm-hmm. Well, you brought up point number 1, which is right, obscurity. If they don't know you, they're not going to come to your clinic, which is where you come in, right? So Facebook ads have been a tremendous opportunity for growth. We use it for chiropractic, we use it for aesthetics, and we use it for other things that we offer in our practice. I think, really it starts with the phone call. One of the things, when I'm coaching clients, is they just don't have a process in place, and it starts with your team. So a lot of times when I'm on calls, I like to talk to the owners because I like to know, well, are you versed? Are you skilled? Where's your skill set? Could you close? Because if you have difficulty closing and you don't have a process where you can convert, then it's going to be tough to get your team to do processes, because a lot of times there aren't any processes because the owner hasn't done it himself or herself. And so I think that's really starts with, that's square one, right? Square two is, how's the intake call? And then what's the experience? I'm huge. My wife and I are just huge on customer service, right? Because we feel like it's a lost art. What's the experience? I feel like the biggest thing, the most important element for us is to provide the customer, the patient, the client with an experience. Because when they have an experience, they're going to come back, they're going to stay, they're going to pay, they're going to refer their friends. And so we do a lot of things to really heighten the experience for the clients. And yes, the sales process is an integral part, Neil, but that's really something where it's an ABC kind of thing. You just have to have a systemized process. Number one. Number two, I think it's critical for the team. I just was on a call last week where I talked to the team about their own mindset. Like, is this something, would you purchase your own product, right? Do you find value in the product that you're selling? Because there's something in the sales process that I call congruency, right? So if you're trying to sell a product, are you congruent with your belief system? Do you actually believe this is going to help you? I would sell it to my mom. I would buy it myself. It's absolutely worth what I'm asking you to pay for it. Because if you don't, that's an incongruency problem, and people they're going to see right through that, right? They're going to see right through that, and they're going to know that you don't necessarily believe in your product. That's going to be really tough to convert and close. So I think the 6 inches between your ears is problem number one.
Yeah. In many instances, I found that to be the case, where somebody's like, well, I don't know if I could afford it, but if I could afford it, would I buy it? If I had the pain points, it's a big it's a very valid point. So you want to make sure you have staff that believes in what they're selling. That's really what it comes down to. It believes that it can help others, right? Heather Turvine and I, she's got a podcast called The Med Spacia. We just talked about how if you're not selling your clients the best treatment plan that's going to help to solve their pain points, you're doing them a disservice.
I absolutely agree. From a chiropractic standpoint, I tell my team if we don't get them in for conservative chiropractic care, they're going to end up probably with some pharmacological intervention or surgery, right? Because one of my primary missions as a chiropractor is to transform the healthcare delivery system, right? Prescription drugs, third leading cause of death in the United States. Not cool. We have massive opioid addictions going on that is still unresolved, right? Opioids getting just prescribed left and right. So we really become a pill-popping nation. The U.S. is the highest consumer of prescription drugs in the world, right? Third leading cause of death, just behind cancer and heart disease. And I just think it's something for me that I want to see change. Both my parents died from poor medical care, medical intervention that caused them to die prematurely. So, I have a great deal of passion for wanting to transform the healthcare delivery system and really help people shift their, I call it a paradigm shift, right? Because essentially your health, it's just a lens through which you view things. And so I really work hard to help shift people's paradigm and help them see the body in a different light. And so that way they're moving away from the allopathic paradigm and more into a vitalistic, holistic type of thought process.
Yeah. So you have there's an intention behind this, right? I think that's super important. I always tell people there's nothing better than making money while helping others. But you have to sell them to help them.
Right. And if you're fearful to sell, or you have some altered ideology. A lot of chiropractors are they're always telling me like, I don't want to sell. I don't want to be a salesman.
I don't want to force people. I don't want to push them to make the decision.
Right, but you're selling a great product. Like you're literally saving their life. Because if your premise is I'm going to get you in here, sell you the best product because my mission is to save your life. For me, it's to not, to move you away from pharmaceuticals and surgery. If that's the case, then what's wrong with selling? I mean, you want them to come in your office, right? Because you're literally giving them opportunities, regardless of what it is that your products are. You're giving them opportunities to better themselves, to improve their quality of life. And when is that ever not going to be a good thing?
Right. Yeah, I do think that I forget who said this, but say human beings, especially in the century we live in today, if they're left to their own devices, they'll do what's most convenient, easiest for them, or they'll let the ego make the decision for them, which is usually the wrong decision. So we're constantly selling, we're constantly influencing, whether it's business or personal lives, professional lives, etc. So the influence we exert on somebody can be detrimental to them and or to us. So the idea is to be able to exert influence that's going to help them, and then in turn is going to help us, right?
Right.
And I do think that a silly example of this would be, somebody said no. What do? You just let them go, right? But they said no because you didn't either build enough value, or you didn't build trust. You didn't make them feel safe, secure, comfortable. Maybe you didn't prescribe the right protocol for them, right? There's so many different ways. So I know that I always say this in our marketing conversations. It's like, hey, I could send you 100 new consults, but if you don't convert any of them, you're going to be happy? No, you're not going to be happy. So let's figure out how to make this work. And that has to be a very healthy marriage between, setting the right goals for yourself and like you said, for your team to convert X amount of clients, to get that return on investment, but also to help more people. Like you said, that I like that you said, you have a mission and you have the intention, and that's also the disconnect between some owners and their staff, because the staff is not bought into the mission, or at least, I don't know, they're not making the money they want to make, or they're not incentivized, or maybe they're just not the right staff.
Yeah. And, I think there's a general myth, maybe not everybody, but I think a lot of, I have friends, and they're like, oh, it must be great, start your own business and you train your staff and then you just
sit back
and roll in the dough. I'm like, dude, that's not how it happens. I'm like, you're in it 7 days a week. I think it's funny, patients, I have limited patient hours, right, where I see patients. And they're like, Doc, man, what do you do with all your free time? I said, what free time? They're like, oh, you're only seeing patients on, 3 days a week, 5 hours a day. I'm like, yeah, well, what do you think I do with the other time? The business has to run, right? And you have to run the business. So I'm here like Monday through Sunday. My wife and I, we're in the office on Saturdays, we're in the office on Sundays, because the truth is you can't run the business. I can't run the business while I'm taking care of patients. I have to do that and segment at other times. But I really think it's sort of humorous and comical when people are like, oh yeah, just sit, open up a business and just let passive income, right? You always heard that whole story about passive income. I just think there's no such thing as passive income.
Yeah. Definitely. Ultimately we obviously want to build as many layers as possible, but I do think that having a small business is extremely rewarding. It is an opportunity to make really good income for yourself, but it's also a massive undertaking and a massive ownership and responsibility, and finding the right staff to take care of your business, the baby that you created, is also it's also challenging. And I think that is going to be one of the focal points of scaling conversations, is hiring. Yeah. One, I think the job descriptions are going to be huge. setting the right expectations and the right descriptions, how you interview, how you structure your commission plans or compensation plans, how you train your people, and then how do you deploy, right? That's all these things we're finding that for a small business are becoming so critical because, guys like you and I were investing so much into growth. And, like you said, there's only a finite amount of time. So you do need the staff. You do need the staff, and you want to make sure they're bought into your mission and vision, and they have the right training and processes in place, and they're incentivized to perform whatever it is, whether it's fulfillment or client results, whether it's consultations and selling, or both.
Yeah, well, we do a lot of, we have morning huddles. I really took the team to Vegas in September, took them out there for 4 or 5 days, had a great time. It was a chiropractic-based seminar. But, I think doing things with your team shows them that you have their back. And, I think it's so critical because if you have unhappy team members, I don't know what the latest, they're always throwing around this stat, Neil, I don't know, like 67% of people are disengaged in their job. I don't know if you've ever heard that percentage or stat. And I'm thinking, gosh, if that's the case and you're a business owner and 7 out of your 10 people are disengaged, you're gonna have a tough time growing a business, right? But I really feel like, business ownership is lead by example, right? I'll take out the trash, I'll mop the floor, I'll stay late, I'll come early, because I want my team to see that I'm fully invested. I'm not just, telling them, hey, I need you to do this. Hey, this is where we need to go. What are you guys gonna do? I'm the first one to get out there and be like, look, I'll get out there and do whatever it takes. Because I think, if they see you doing whatever it takes, then they're just going to follow.
Follow by example. Let's talk about the success you had this past year. You want to talk about your numbers?
Sure, absolutely.
Let's talk about your numbers. What did we do last year?
We were just shy of $2 million.
Shy of $2 million.
Yeah.
2 years in aesthetics. What was the split? Chiro versus aesthetics.
Aesthetics, we pulled in a little over 800.
Okay, so close to half.
Yep,
close to half. Between that, that's pretty awesome for 2 years into business. I know we do paid advertising and acquisition for you, and so for anybody who's not aware of that, that's meta advertising with a US-based appointment closing team that we're supporting Dr. Kabir with at Patient Engine. Let's talk about some other marketing channels that have worked for you. I'm a big paid ads guy. I think it's the fastest, most predictable, consistent way to get in front of your target audience because that's where your target audience hangs out these days, and we pay to play, right? So it is the biggest investment, but it's also probably the most lucrative investment to make in your business, and I believe in that. I opened my small spa, and we've done close to 400,000 in 9 months with one individual, which I think is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
In a body sculpting space, but tons of paid ads, tons of spend as well. Aside from paid advertising and acquisition, what else have you done to grow your practice?
Yeah, so I do a lot of community outreach. So I do lunch and learns in terms of, in December, I did some lunch and learns for holiday stress. And now we're doing some New Year, New You resolutions. So I do a lot of community outreach, a lot of lunch and learns. I do a dinner every month. I call it my Vital Shift dinner. And I host it at a local restaurant. So the restaurant owner is a friend of mine. I rent a back room and I feed my patients and clients dinner. And I tell them, look, once somebody converts, Neil, then my staff comes in, goes through the office policies and says, hey, by the way, Doc does a dinner. And I'll let them know beforehand. Doc does a dinner for all his new clients. Basically, the purpose of the dinner is to give you all the tools for health and wellness. So we talk about diet, exercise.
Where's dinner?
What's dinner?
Yeah.
We serve up salmon, steak kebabs, and or chicken.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So
no carbs?
Oh no, there's carbs in there. There's carbs in there. So
wait. So you do a new patient dinner every month?
Every month.
Okay. What's the attendance rate?
So we'll get, I'd say about 70%
of all new patients.
Yeah, attend, and they are encouraged.
Is it at your to bring a spouse? Is that at your office or is that a restaurant?
No, it's at a restaurant. Serve them dinner. I'll tell them, hey, bring as many guests as you want, because obviously the purpose is to not only give them tools, but also to let them know. It really engages them in terms of what my mission is, and it really helps retention. So for me, I mean, a big problem with a lot of practices is just like, yeah, you can sell them, but can you retain them, right? Because we both know somebody that's retained, it's far less costly to the business to retain than it is to acquire. So if you can retain them, awesome. So they come to the dinner, they'll bring a spouse or friend, and at the end of the dinner, I'll pitch the spouse or guests, if you will, to come in for a free consult and evaluation. Existing patients that are there, I will allow them to do a free 15-minute demo on M-Sculpt, Emcella, or whatever they want. They get the opportunity to do a 15-minute demo because now I can cross-sell. If I've got somebody that's a chiropractic patient, they can come in, demo the M-Sculpt, and next thing you know, there's a high likelihood of conversion for that patient to now they buy an M-Sculpt package.
Yeah, I like that.
So
a little client appreciation event, and I'm sure that creates a little bit of a sense of community between those patients. They bring you more referrals. You build a better relationship with them. Love that. What else?
We just started doing something called pamper parties. So I thought to myself, how can we, what are some things we can do? So pamper party, we reach out invite only to some of our higher level clientele. In other words, people that run in the same circles, have the income, are likely to buy things. And we invite 5 to 8 of their friends. And then we provide wine, charcuterie board, nice relaxing environment. And then we allow them to demo products. And then we give them a discounted price if they purchase at the event. We're Valentine's Day, right, is next month. So we're in the process of doing a Galentine's Day. So same kind of thing. We're going to send invites out.
How do you say invites out? Email and text?
And actual paper invites.
Love that.
So I'm sort of old school that way.
No, I think that's good. Yeah. Listen, as long as it's cost effective and conversion effective.
Yeah.
And why not? It is more personalized and tangible. It's like when you give somebody a gift card, instead of a digital gift card, you give them an actual thing that they hold on to. I think people just value that more.
Yeah, I think they do.
It's like reading a book these days. I feel like it's like a tangible book has more value to you than something on a Kindle.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, it goes back to, I think, just, I don't know, a higher level of customer service, right? Exceeding expectation. My marketing director found some plush robes. So everybody that comes to the Galentine's Day is going to get a plush robe. Actually, I should say, I think the first 20 or 25 get a robe to wear.
Fine print.
Yeah. So they get a robe to wear during the event. And then we're doing, like paintings and wine and, again, charcuterie board. And then they'll have an opportunity to demo. And those events have been very successful.
Where do you feel like you get the best response rate? Is it text, emails, or letter invites?
Text.
Yeah. And so it seems like your patient base is pretty engaged.
Yeah,
for the most part.
We'll do weekly, if not bi-weekly, text blasts. Where we send a text out. Maybe in fact, we just did a text last week on. I thought, okay, let's send a text out. If you buy an M face package, then you get X number of M-Sculpt sessions. And we do really well with things like that. So every month I try and incentivize existing patients to buy packages that at a discounted rate.
Very cool. So, events. events have been a big driver for you.
Yes.
So that's, you said, just to recap, new patient dinners, special parties, pamper parties. What else are you doing? So this seems like a lot of stuff for your existing clients, which is great, like you said, because retention is huge. And those clients, every client has a micro sphere of influence where they can bring in, like you said, a spouse or a colleague or a friend and provide you with more referrals, more people you can help, which is great. Yeah, man, I feel like people just forget a lot about their clients once they sell them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, one, you got to get them awesome results. Two, I mean, they can be your ambassadors. Right?
Yeah.
They know people.
Well, and one thing I'm really good at, and is I'm sort of a comic in the office. I crack jokes. I make people laugh. I hug all my patients, and I really make them feel, because that's just my natural personality. It's nothing forced. I just really want them to get great results. I want to see them less stressed, because everybody that's living in this environment in the United States, they're high level of stress, right? It's part of the reason why they can't lose weight. They got high cortisol levels, stress hormones are cranking. And so I want them to be able to come in, say, oh my God, I love going to Kabir's office. He's always in a great mood. Everybody's smiling. The staff is great. They greet you with a smile. I always walk out, right? They should leave your facility feeling better than they walked into your facility.
Definitely. Any other marketing channels that you have undertaken that have worked for you? I know more is not always more, as we know, and every area varies a little bit. But just to recap, Patient Engine, paid acquisition through Meta, events in the form of new patient dinners and appreciation events, special events for existing clients and their referrals as well. I think you said lunch and learns, community outreach. Anything else I missed?
We'll incentivize clients to do Google reviews. We'll give gift cards, $20, $25 gift cards. And my wife loves this. I keep my Christmas tree up, Neil, after Christmas. And so
in the practice?
Yes, in the practice. I would at home, but my wife won't allow it. Otherwise, I'd keep everything up. Because, I'm just Clark Griswold. What can I say? And so in the office, we keep a tree up, and we did this last year. So with Valentine's Day coming up, we're going to put hearts on it, and we're going to have gifts, right? And so when a patient refers their spouse or loved one in for Valentine's Day, they will get to pick a gift off the tree. And it could be anything from a, dinner for two at a local restaurant to maybe a service that we provide in the office to discounted nutrition. And then come March, we'll do some same kind of thing, but we'll do something for Patty's Day. And so I really, like, just for myself, I'm super creative with coming up with things that I feel like keep the people engaged. Because I think, once the patient buys, there's literally you could put a graph chart up that shows their level of disengagement with time. So as time passes, if you don't keep them engaged, their natural inclination is to disengage from your practice. It doesn't matter what the service is, chiropractic, aesthetics. So if you don't have some way of constantly keeping in their field of awareness, keeping them engaged, their engagement will gradually decrease. And so for me, it's doing things to keep them continuously engaged.
Beautiful. How do you approach planning, setting KPIs, setting goals? I feel like it's a big pain point in the health and wellness and aesthetics industry.
Well, so we sat down in December and just charted out whole year. Every day my own practice is I get up super early. I don't know. Are you an early riser?
No.
I happen to get up about 4:30, sometimes earlier. And I just do that because I like the first 2 hours.
It's quiet.
Yeah, I just want the first 2 hours of the day to just be for me. whether it's meditation, yoga, workouts. So I get up and I just let my mind be creative. But I always look at, I'm probably a little OCD about goals. I'm constantly, I will pull out my phone. I don't check emails or anything like that, but I have all my goals listed.
Do you do weekly goals?
I do daily, weekly, monthly, and annual.
Daily is a lot.
Yeah. So, I'll in our team huddles, morning team huddles, I'm like, all right, what are we going to do today? What are some things that we can do outside the box? Do we want to see 3 new people? Do we want the phone to ring? How many phone calls are we going to get in? What's the outcome of the day? And so I'm really good at really initiating that process and just in my own mind. Because I do believe that whatever universal consciousness, whatever you put out, it's going to come right back. So I want to feel like that I'm connected to my mission, vision, purpose, and that connection is what allows me to. It fuels, I guess what you could call manifestation, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, I do. I do business goals and personal goals every single week. Of course, annual goals as well. And I do believe that the weekly goals or daily goals in your case stack up. I always tell my team at the agency and at the spa, like micro goals create macro growth, which is important, right? It's every day you're putting in the work and action to reach those goals. So that's super important. I do think that there's a lot of people I talk to. I'm like, how much money do you want to make? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Even in whether it's my existing clients or prospects, one of the questions we have: how much are you doing right now? How much do you want to make? A lot of people don't know.
Well, and I think there's that whole what's it called? SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic. When I ask my patients, and every January, I'm like, all right, what are you going to do differently? What are you doing? What are your top 2 priorities with regard to your health? And a lot of time, it's vague answers. Oh, I want to eat healthier. Well, what do you mean? Oh, I want to work out more. Well, like 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And so for me, I get very specific with my own personal goals in terms of timeline, date, when do I want to achieve it? And when I'm coaching offices, I'm really surprised at the number of offices and clinics that maybe don't know their stats real well. Ask them, where are you at right now? What's your goal for the quarter? Where'd you finish last year? What's your conversion percentage right now? And they're usually like, oh, I'm not sure. I think we saw 10 people. I'm a super OCD about stats. Like every day I look at the stats, how many people have we seen, how many people have converted, what's coming in tomorrow, what's coming in next week. Because I really feel like, that which is measured grows.
Yeah, you can make better decisions, data-driven decisions, when you have the right data. Data then converts into information, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah,
you can't grow what you don't know. In essence, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think as in any business, biggest KPIs, right, is revenue broken down by month and quarter and some of the percentage changes. Your profit, of course, and just being able to understand your P&L. And like you said, being able to understand your metrics. So with conversions, where your marketing dollars are going, how much ROI am I retaining or deriving from every single patient that comes in? So annual client lifetime value or patient value, right? Referral percentage, retention rates, lifetime length of a patient relationship. Some of these things, I mean, quite frankly, like not that many data points, but they're important.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I think at a bare minimum, you should know, how many new clients am I getting per month? And what's the conversion percentage? How much is each new client worth? Because that way you can actually, the longer you measure that, the more accurate your statistics can be in terms of, okay, where do I need to focus more energy on? We're getting the new clients in. That's not the problem, but we need to bump our average fee up, because we're not We're not getting enough. Our margin isn't enough for us to have cushy money, right? To run and operate the business. Or is it something, do I need more people? Do I need to put more money into ad spend and try and get more people through the door? We're getting people through the door. We're not converting. Well, good. Let's work on the sales process. I think once you assess things, then you can figure out, okay, what do we need to work on? But I don't know that that's routinely done by business owners in terms of looking at where are the weak points in my business.
Yeah. And just having the self-awareness.
Yeah.
And facing the realities. I think that's a big thing. I think that's where it starts. You're like, yeah, am I really doing well?
Yeah.
What is well? And like you said, that starts with having the right goals in place. And just for me, I think this year, a big theme for me is like just being non-negotiable with goals.
Yeah.
I look back at like 2024 and usually I'm pretty strict. I was like, man, I was way too flexible.
You ever feel like you limit yourself?
I just felt like also you have to set realistic goals and not just throw a list. You have to be very intentional with your goals and not just throw together a list. Because I feel like there's two things. I feel like I threw way too much on my list. So isn't it intentional enough with my goals and my planning? And then I was also, there's always going to be wrenches that are going to be thrown at you. So you have to kind of take into account that. You have to understand that it's going to happen. But I was also too flexible with executing. And I think it's good self-awareness to have, whether it's personal or business goals as well. And I know a lot of people had a great year last year. I think, but in general for our country and our industry, it was a very tough and challenging year. In my opinion, is on a macro level. I've seen a lot of people. And I do think that I really do like, and I will say that I think people in metro areas suffer more, bigger metro areas.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot more competition, that people have a lot more options. People are a lot less committal, especially to partners and providers, like yourself, right? Like me. I think it's smaller cities with tighter communities. Those patients have, I think, tighter bonds and relationships with their providers. And especially if you care and if you get your clients results and do a lot of the good stuff that you do.
Well, I mean, going back to our earlier conversation on insurance companies, right? I'll ask patients, hey, who's your primary care? And they're like, I can't remember his name. I'm not sure who it is. And back in the day, most people knew their primary care doctor,
that was the
right?
guy.
Yeah, they're like, oh, John, yeah, he's our doc. He's been our family doc for 35 years. So my grandma, my mom, and now it's like you ask them and they're like, I'm not really sure. And so, I mean, that's a disconnect, right? Because people go to their doctors because of who's in their HMO, who's in their PPO. So the decision, their health decision, isn't based on the correct parameters. It's not based on what they want. It's based on, the insurance company allows me to do this. And so this is what I'm going to do. And I think that's problematic. It's part of the reason why I got out of insurance, is because I didn't want insurance to dictate the care for my patients. I wanted to actually tell them, this is what you need. And if you're willing to put skin in the game, then I can help you get to your goals. But if the insurance company comes in and dictates, then their biggest priority is not your long-term health. It's to their stockholders. It's not to you.
Yeah. What are some of the big things that you want to accomplish this year?
Well, I want to help more practices, Neil. So clinics, med spas, chiropractic practices. I really feel like I have a good process in terms of my own sales process with my team, with myself. Conversion rates are good. And I see a lot of docs in any industry just really struggling. And I think I'd love to see them more successful, getting more conversions, helping more people, making more money, just enjoying life. So for me, it's about expanding my influence.
How are you going to do that?
So I've started my own coaching and consulting company just literally this year. So it's Consult to Close. You can find me on Instagram at Kabir Consult to Close, and really looking to help people with their systems in terms of from the intake call all the way through when the client walks through the door, through the first day consultation to conversion. So literally from consult to conversion, help people implement systems and protocols for their team so that they have greater rates of success regardless of where the new client's coming from.
Awesome. Yeah, we've obviously had you consult a lot of our clients, and they've seen a good, they had a really great experience, and you've been able to help to influence the process. But as you and I talked about, there's a lot to it. Definitely. There's a lot of different touch points along the way, right? I know that some of the fundamentals, I'll say them again, mindset, pricing strategies, payment flexibility, process, consultation questions, objection handling, closing, all that stuff. And then, the layers underneath those points, right? There's a lot there. And I do think that we need to place a massive emphasis on that, because that is your opportunity to potentially turn, this hour and a half visit into but potentially even a lifetime partnership with this patient, right? And as you grow and add more services, more pain points you can solve, and as we talked about, every single client could be worth thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars to you through their own business, but also through referring their friends, family. I always say, man, your clients can be, their spheres, they have spheres of influence. You never know who's coming in your practice.
Yeah, that's true. And, to my point, right, it's why engagement is so critical to me, because I want them to be able to tell their friends, oh my God, you got to go to Kabir's place. Not just for the services and the results. Absolutely. You got to exceed expectations, right? My philosophy, not everyone may agree, but my philosophy is overpromise and overdeliver, right? Not just on the results, but just in all arenas, because there's so many different ways to influence people other than just the product that you're providing to them, Neil. So, it's not just about, hey, come on in, let's get you, for a demo. And then, there's so many other intangibles. And I think it's the intangibles that, where I can help people the most. And I think it's what's most often overlooked in the sales process, or all the intangibles that come along with it.
Yeah. As far as advice, the show is about, it is about scaling to 7 figures and beyond, but you have to fall in love with the journey to get there and to keep going and to stay there, really, right? The goal is sustainability of growth as well. So I always ask successful entrepreneurs for advice for others. And there's a lot of advice we could give, a lot of pieces of advice, but let's talk about maybe some 3 major points where you feel like, people either miss the mark, or some of the gaps we can fill, or some of the things that resonated you a lot that you've put into place in the last, especially 2 years, as you've seen the really massive growth you've had.
I think number one, you have to get out of obscurity. You have to get known. Right? People have to know you exist, because that's the number one thing. After that, I really feel like it's the mindset of the owner. You can't be too easily discouraged, right? We talked about earlier about, I think entrepreneurs and business owners tend to be built in a certain manner where maybe you could say they have thicker skin. And as you alluded to earlier, it's like if people say no, you can't take it personally. You just got to, okay, who's the next person that I can help? I think that's second. Third critical component, I think, is you have to have a good, solid team. The role of your team is to back you up, right? And so I think those three elements would be the top three elements in terms of creating success, because a lot of it can be self-sabotage in your own mindset. So if you get discouraged too often and you have a lot of negative worry and things going through your head, that's going to affect your ability to motivate your team, lead by example, and create some level of manifestation where you can actually enjoy and reap the benefits of what you've created.
Yeah, that's important. You got to have fun with it.
Oh, yeah. I have fun every day I go on, man. Every day.
Yeah, you got to have fun with it. Because, man, having a business, running a business, scaling a business, there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens, a lot of challenges, right? So you definitely have to have fun with it. I think that's really important. Do you have any plans to open? We talked about recently within our clients' circle around opening other practices. Do you want to do that? Do you want to just continue to grow your practice and the consulting firm? What's next?
I don't have any plans of opening up other practices. Well, I shouldn't say that. Let me take a step back, because my wife is from a small town in Indiana, and she just last month had mentioned, hey, what about opening up a little clinic in my hometown, because her family's there. So I'm not saying it's completely out of the question. It's a possibility. I definitely want to double and triple the growth in the practice that I have currently in Bloomington. I'm not opposed to opening up some smaller locations. It's probably not first and foremost on the docket, but definitely growing my coaching and consulting firm is definitely in the top. This year, I definitely want to grow that portion of my business while I continue to see growth in Kabir Center for Health.
Yeah, that's important. Talking about small towns, those tier 3 markets are pretty awesome. I know that we have probably, I don't want to say 10% of our clients, maybe 15% are in small towns where there's enough population size within like 50-mile radius, but the competition is almost non-existent. And especially if you have a good service offering, you've built some good credibility within your community, and you can deliver results, and then you add like something like we do with not proactive, but with demand generation, where you put this, whether it's aesthetics or something similar, put this potential solution out in front of that audience, which is like, those people usually have had to drive to a big city a few hours away to get those services done, or they've never had those services done then because they didn't think that there was a provider nearby. We've seen those campaigns absolutely crush it. So I think as more people move out of the cities and into smaller communities, we're going to see these tier 3 markets rise. I know I'm going to be opening in tier 2 markets. So I have Birmingham, Huntsville, and suburbs of Columbia, South Carolina, a few others. But so that's on the docket for this year. But I think I want to consider tier 3 markets, because you never know.
Yeah.
And those are the folks that have discretionary income, but they may not have as much as somebody living in the city, but they don't also have as many opportunities to spend it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. The market you're in, Bloomington, where do you see that going? And are you finding that people are actually, are starting to have a little bit more awareness and education around things like, aesthetic technologies?
Yeah, so I'm in a unique community, Bloomington, Normal. Yeah, right. They're sort of kind of sister cities. There's, State Farm corporate headquarters is there, Country Companies corporate headquarters is there, and then there's colleges. So there's a unique blend of, it's a median income there, I believe, is the second or third highest in the state. So it is and it's a little microcosm of a big city. I always feel like, when you're in Bloomington, you're not in obviously a big city, but it has a little bit of that feel, but it also has that blend of small town where you feel safe, the community, everybody knows everybody kind of area. So it's growing. I mean, it's a growing community. I love it. Been there since 1998. And I grew up in a big city. So when I moved to Bloomington, the first thought was, oh my God, this is such a small town. And I'm like, I'm not going to stay here very long. Because my initial thought was, it's too small of a town. I need to be in a bigger city. So growing up in St. Louis, obviously, that's what I was used to. But now I like it. I think it also gives the opportunity of growing a business maybe a little faster. I don't know if you found that to be true in a small town, versus a massive city where there's so many people. In a small town, I feel like opportunities to grow are a little easier. Particularly if you're out in the community, you're out networking, you're going to, BNI meetings, you're going to Chamber of Commerce meetings, you get to know people faster than you would in a big city.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I think people in the cities have more options. They have more opportunities to go from provider to provider. There's more people, and I do feel like the relationships aren't as strong between people in general and people and providers. They're bombarded with ads, right? And they have so many more places to spend their money. So I think that's why if you're a good provider in a smaller city, like you said, there's definitely an opportunity to grow and to help more people. But just to wrap things up, where can people find you? I know you threw out a handle, so let's throw it out again. Where can people find you if they want to reach out, learn more about your practice, learn more about your consulting company, learn more about your experience working with Patient Engine, which is my agency. Let's throw in some information.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go. So my website for my practice is Kabir, Kabir Center, and then the number 4 health.com. In terms of my coaching clinic, our coaching and consulting business, Instagram is at Kabir, Kabir Consult, the number 2 close. So Kabir Consult to close, or KabirCenterForHealth.com, whichever one. You can find me pretty easily. There's not a lot of Kabirs in Bloomington, Illinois.
Couple fun questions to end off. Okay. Favorite book? A must read.
Oh my gosh, you would hit me with this. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
The Monk Who Sold His
by Robin Sharma.
I can't fit in a Ferrari, so
yeah,
I would sell it too. Let's see. I'm going to throw this in there. Do you think people are happier with Ferraris or with bottles of water?
Oh, that is an odd question, Neil. I'd be happy with a Ferrari over a bottled water.
It's interesting. I went to college. I got for economics, finance, and marketing, and I've learned most of what I know in actually application and being an entrepreneur, working at consulting companies, and having a lot of great mentors. But one thing that stuck out to me is the concept of marginal utility. And I told this to somebody recently, and they're like, holy crap, like, of course I would take a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. But a professor of mine, he said, think about it this way. If you buy a Lamborghini, you're going to be really happy. But when you get your second one, you're going to be as happy or less happy? You're probably going to be less happy. When you buy your third one, you're going to be, and by your 10th one, you're going to be actually pretty unhappy because you're going to have to buy more Lamborghinis. You think they could continue to satisfy your hunger. Whereas with bottle of water, you're happy the same amount every single time. So it's one of the most consistent things because it's a need-based utility. So
yeah.
Anyways, that's something that came up, super random. Couple more questions. Favorite place to vacation?
My wife and I really love San Diego.
Awesome. And then we're gonna go back into business right now. Favorite, I think you're really good at this, so let's throw this in because
the pressure's on.
No, one of the biggest objections people get in aesthetics is I have to talk to my husband.
Yes.
And I know you're also a husband as well, and we all know it's kind of BS most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your favorite way to overcome that objection? I am sure you've gotten that many times before.
Yes.
I know a lot of my clients are always like, oh, I don't know if I can get around it, and they freeze. So let's talk about that to finish off.
I'm glad you asked that one because that's one of my favorites, because with any objection, including spouse, you have to bring it up before they do. So on the consult, I would say, hey, Julie, if we can find a ultimate solution to your problem and get you toward your target and goals, is there any reason why you wouldn't be able to move forward today? And if they say something like, oh, my husband, great. Does he know you're here? Yes, he knows you're here. Awesome. I'm sure if your spouse is anything like my spouse, they're going to support you in your quest to better yourself, to be healthier. Yes, they are. So one of the questions I ask beyond that is, and here's a key distinction, is you need to know, do they need to ask for permission or are they just looking for support? Right? In other words, hey, Julie, is this something where you need to ask your husband for permission to do this? Or are you just looking for his support? Right? Because those are two different scenarios. And by the way, again, you would want to address this before the pitch, right? Any objection that you think is going to come up, you should bring up in the consult. So that way you know, whether it's financial, spouse. But that's how I would handle that one, is I would find out, is it permission or is it support? So that way you know. If it's permission, likely it's, hey, I got to get his permission to spend the money, right? That's a little bit more challenging to overcome. I might say, great, here's the deal. $500 deposit today. We'll hold the price that I have for you. Go home, chat with your husband. You can take care of the rest of it when you come in for your first visit.
Yeah. One of my favorite ways to just to piggyback on that point is to say, if you talk to your husband tomorrow, and what do you think would they say? Would they say yes? Okay. Then what's going to change?
Love it.
Or, hey, listen, I know this is very important for you. Let's get this deal done today. And if anything changes tomorrow and your husband says, this is the worst thing you can do for yourself, and he totally disagrees with that, I'll refund your money because I don't want to make you do anything you don't want to do.
I've done that too.
Yeah, but also a lot of times it's smoke screen behind the true objection as well, which you want to get to. But I know you talk a lot about this type of stuff in your consultation training as well. So, listen, thank you so much for having this time with me today and for driving up. And this is super awesome. And looking forward to more success this year.
Thanks for having me. Unfortunately, I will not be driving a Lamborghini back home, but maybe next time.